Welcome to Satsang. Before we start, because today is a very powerful subject, even though we heard it many times before, but I'd like you to know that when we're using words, okay, feel the words internally. Okay, the subject today is called the willingness to experience. Someone sent me this following email. And I was very proud of them that they did so because, okay, this is what she wrote. I'm emailing you with a request. Yesterday I was listening to one of your satsangs for the third time. And this time I heard something I didn't hear the first time. You said something in the line of the willingness to experience. And immediately it stirred something deep within me. That's what I'm talking about. Stirring something within. Okay? The unwillingness to experience whatever we encounter is the basis for a lot of unnecessary suffering. So this is quite aware. Could you do a satsang on this topic? I believe most of us listening to and wanting the truth still are fighting with the experience part. I also feel it will benefit a lot of people who are seeking the truth to themselves, in themselves, and without the willingness to experience, there is no point in experiencing the truth, right? Because what you said was something that touched me very deeply, I felt the urge to ask you to elaborate more on the willingness to experience part. Okay, thank you for this. You know, the willingness to experience is what it's all about. We're not here just to be here. We are here to evolve in our consciousness, to grow in our capacity to love. But when we think about love, you know, even laughter, okay, even joy in the moment, even being in whatever, you know, feeling our best, what is that? It is our willingness to experience the moment. This is what is actually happening. One time someone asked me and they said, Burt, he said, you know, when a person laughs, all of a sudden, they laugh. What is happening at that moment? What makes them, all of a sudden, they open the throat and start, ha 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 ha. What makes it happen? I said, the willingness to experience. Feel it out, please. Because at the moment, if you feel good, chances that you will laugh are great. But what is feeling good? It means you are so here now, so present, so completely in the moment, that nothing is disturbing you. And if you're totally here, and you're always here, you're never anyplace else, there's no past or future. And if there's no past or future, then laughter, love, enjoyment, joy, fullness of being is present. That's what the awakened state is. It's not something you arrive at. It is something that you are willing to experience in the moment. So today, let's go into what it means to be willing to experience. See, the moment something goes wrong, people immediately identify with it. You see, something is wrong. And instead of willingness to look at that term, what is wrong, because the mind made it wrong, okay, instead of looking at it, we identify with it. That's the unwillingness to experience. See, whatever you're experiencing in the moment is you. That is you. That is true. That is real. Next moment you experience something different. But the experience of the moment is the only reality you have. So I was talking to Jen just a while ago, and he said, because she says, you are the essence, or you are this, or you are that. It's true, we use those words, and they're very, very true. But who you are is the unknown. All you can know about you is that you are here. Always here. Are you understanding me? For if we end up in Venus next time with a different body and different name, but it's still you being here. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is the experience. That is the reality. That is who you are. But there is no name to it. There is no definition of that. You are the unknown itself. And that is the beauty. When you know you are the unknown, that's when you begin to feel the joy of living, the fullness of living. Now, if in the moment I ask you something and you are self-conscious at the moment, that self-consciousness is your experience of the moment. Now, there are two things that happen. Are you willing to look at it and therefore learn to love from it? Or you're not willing to see it because you're caught in it, the unwillingness. Now, how many people are willing to experience the moment, to experience the truth, to experience now? More than 95% are unwilling to experience the momentary experience. Did you know that? So all that is necessary for us to expand and grow and see the truth, there has to be the willingness to experience. So let's start exploring this. What does it mean, willingness to experience, from your own point of view? And there is no wrong point. What is that?
The willingness to be in the moment and allow whatever experience, unjudged, or if you judge, be aware of the judgment, just as raw expressions of life coming into you.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows you to be with life, whatever piece of life there is.
Now, feel out the feeling. What you said is so beautiful. That's exactly it, really. Okay? To experience the moment as it actually is. What happens when you experience the moment as it actually is? At that moment, there is no Burt, right? There is no Jan. That couldn't be.
There's only that.
There's only
the experience.
There's only the experience.
Yes.
Right. So at that moment, there's got to be joy. There's got to be fullness of being. There's got to be, right? There's that aliveness. Yeah.
But at that moment, there could be a lot of grief as well.
Yes. Yes, that's the experience. The grief is the experience. Beautiful. Are you willing to experience that grief as grief? Now, if you're willing to experience it, immediately you begin to feel okay. Okay, remember, this is the point, that no matter what the experience is, fear or love, and incidentally, we can define all emotions, all feelings into those two. That's what the Course in Miracles also says. Okay, it's either fear-based, grief is fear-based, or love-based. But the point is that when you allow whatever is, without calling it bad, without making it wrong, without saying, I shouldn't have this, what's wrong with me, you experience it as it is, actually as it is. In other words, your willingness to see it in the moment, to be one with it, that very being with it, all of a sudden you begin to glimpse that there's love in it too. You see? Because however you are feeling is because you're missing something, you're wanting something to make you feel better. You see, you're always that need or wanting of that very love, which you are, because the willingness to experience is the love you are seeking, but we put it another way. Let me tell you what happened about a week ago. I was driving with a very good friend of mine, and she was telling me all about her life. And then at one point she said to me, she said, you know, I'm waiting for life to happen. That is it. I'm just waiting for life to happen, she said. And I said, that's it. That's what everybody is doing, waiting for life to happen. Okay? But they miss it because in that waiting, they're not experiencing the moment as it is. But in that moment, as we discussed it, and we both got inspired in looking at it at that moment, we got inspired. That's life happening right there. The willingness to experience it in the moment was happening. Okay? The moment you experience it, it doesn't matter whether you're waiting for life to happen. The happening is that moment. The experience is that moment. Life is not going to get better tomorrow. Life is what it is now. It's always like this. Are you willing to say, I'm going to stay like this forever? Am I willing to do this? If you're willing to do this, you'll find peace. A kick into pants, isn't it? Strange. Yeah. But that's the truth. If you're willing to accept life just as it is, lousy as it may be, which is of course a quote, your ego is telling you lousy, because there's no such thing as lousy except what your mind made it. And you're willing to experience it, that very willingness itself snaps you out of it and makes it okay, because now I'm alive looking at it. I'm learning, I'm expanding, I'm growing. You see? So this is it, you're in love with someone. And you're so in love that you both don't exist except as oneness. You're not even planning what you do the next moment. It simply doesn't matter. There is just that moment. You see? That's what love is. Love is the willingness to experience now. Completely. Do you know that there's no such thing as the past? Because it's history. It's good for books. It's good for historians. Yeah. And you learn from it. But it has nothing to do with you. Because it's past. You learn from it. Yes, oh definitely you learn. You see? Did you know that all fear is based on the future? All of it. I wonder what's going to happen. Expectations, you see? How you want it to turn in a certain way. You want it to be in a particular category. And then you miss the most important thing you've got, which is the only reality you have. You see, there is no other reality except now, this moment. Right now we are here. This is real. This is very real. You see? And next moment, when you're out of here, that's real too. But if you step out of it by bringing what you feel about it or what you're going to expect from it, then you begin to miss the very essence of it. See the beauty of it. See, there are 3 stages that we all go through. 3 stages everybody goes through. Very few people are aware of this. The first stage is made up of the majority of people, called third dimensional people. Maybe 75% of the population is this. They believe that life is their ego. They actually believe it completely. The education tells you so, even basic psychology deals with it as a self-image. And you really believe that life is, you go to school, and then you go to college, and then you get married, and then you have children, and then you die. You don't know what's going to happen. But you know that nothing is happening? Because now nothing can happen. It's always now. To you. To somebody else, they see changes. They're looking at you. They say, oh, we're burying you, and now you're gone. Bye. But to you, you're still you. How do I know, you say? Burt, you say things like this that blows me away. How do you know all this? Because there comes a time, there comes a moment when you, all of a sudden, you begin to realize it's so damn simple. You're always here. And if you're always here, how can anything happen other than just a movement? Just like the movement around the sun. Goes round and round and round unceasingly in perfection, giving us calendar days and months and years, winter, summer, autumn, wind, heat, load, sleep, wake. Okay? But it's just a movement going on. The body ages because the body has a biological shift with all movement. All movement creates change, you see? And that change is seen in the plants coming alive in spring and then dying in the fall. But it's all part of that movement, sleeping and waking, you see? But it's all a process of duality to teach us that which is beyond duality. Are you beginning to see the beauty of the willingness to experience the moment as it actually is? You see? Yeah.
That willingness is the beyond duality, beyond black.
Exactly.
White.
Beautiful. So every experience, if you experience it with total willingness, you'll find it is beyond duality. The moment you look at it. You see? And that's why the Course in Miracles says, fear can make you sick, it can drive you crazy, as long as you don't look at it. Because the moment you look at it, there's the miracle. See, the willingness to look, the willingness to see, that is the whole thing. That is the whole point. Yeah.
Is willingness creation? Like, is it? It seems like
willingness is a form. That's a good question, though. The willingness is a form of creativity. Yeah.
Intention.
It's the intention to experience the moment. It's the willingness to see that every moment is teaching you something. Good, bad is an immaterial at this point. You see, what we call bad is nothing more than we're not in alignment with the flow of the experience. The willingness brings us back into the flow. And then it teaches us that, yeah, I was out of the flow. I'm here. And all of a sudden there's an immediate intuitive knowing that it wasn't really bad as much as we thought it was. It was something that the mind took us away from experiencing the moment.
So is the willingness the call?
The willingness is the call. The willingness is the see, we have what we call, now Buddha doesn't believe in soul, and there are many teachings that tell you there is no soul because it's all a wave of the ocean, but there's only the ocean appearing as different waves. So there is only life appearing as you and me, which is the soul. But let's assume that soul for practicality, okay? The soul is that part in you which is always yearning, never stops yearning for something better. But why does it want something better?
Experience.
To experience a higher and higher you. But the higher and higher you is not something different. It is the willingness to be present. It is the willingness to be alert to what is at the moment. You see, the moment you give it a label, this is good, this is bad, I've done something wrong. You see? Immediately, that very judgment itself is what produces illness. Okay, what we call sickness, what we call emotional pain, what we call suffering. But as we enter the fourth dimension now, we are entering deeper consciousness, we're beginning to understand things we never understood before. Never. We're beginning to understand that everything is okay. Everything is grist for the mill, so to speak. It is to take us a little deeper. There's only one thing that is necessary. Are you willing to experience it? So now let's talk about how we do that. Yeah.
Just when you said that, something arose, and tell me what you feel about this, because intention is kind of an action. Surrender is kind of a falling back, but this is neither, really.
Yes.
It's neither intending nor surrender, and yet it has both of those in it, just being
both
present.
of them present. Very good. My goodness, what clarity you have. And that is it. Yeah, the willingness is, nobody can give you willingness. You go to a guru or master and says, give me willingness to experience. He cannot do that. He can point out the experience you're going through, the experience of feeling fear, the experience of feeling not good enough, the experience of suffering. He can point that out, that it's happening now because it is in your mind, your experience. But he cannot give you the willingness to look at it. No. Nobody can give you that. That is yours alone. People who come to satsang, there's got to be the willingness to see. Otherwise, you don't come just to listen to somebody talk alone. There's something in you that wants to go a little deeper. Okay? That wanting to go deeper, you begin to see there's no awakening. There's no future in which awakening happens. Awakening is the willingness to look. The moment you look, you're awake. You see? It's that simple. But you see, how do you look? Okay, let's give an example of something that makes you suffer. Self-consciousness, inhibition, not feeling good enough, speak up. And just let's go into it. And then let's talk about how to experience it.
Sense of letting someone down.
Letting someone down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that, someone being left down, because we have to make it personal
Right,
at this
okay,
point to experience it.
Sure. I make a bad shot on my curling team and we lose the game.
Okay. Okay, right now, you lose the game. So what? You lost the game, right? But the point is, how do you feel about it? That's your experience. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, whether to win or lose is no big deal. Life is
Right.
filled with loss and gain. But the point is, how are you feeling in that loss? Maybe you're feeling guilty. Maybe you're feeling you let down the team. Maybe you're feeling less than. Maybe you're feeling very self-conscious. You're afraid to talk because people are looking at you like you've done something wrong for the team. You see what I mean? This is your experience at the moment. How do you look at it now?
If I can, I see it as waves flowing over me. I'm aware of all of that, but I don't bite. I don't say I to it if I can. I don't identify.
Yeah, this is very nice what you just said. You see it as waves. See, because if you stop and look at a feeling of grief or a feeling of something, you feel like, oh, I let down the team, I feel bad. That just feels so real at the moment, right? But all it is just an experience. But when you look at it, you feel it like a wave happening to your body, just like something. You take a deep breath and you just look at that and allow it without making it wrong or right. It is just an experience. Okay? That is the willingness to experience. And then you'll find that one moment later, hey, I feel okay again. Okay? Because you brought love into that fear. Now, love is always there. Love is the looking. Love is the willingness. Love is the allowing. Love is the accepting. You see? So that is how we go about it.
That's the beauty, is that it's not fixing, changing, psychologicalizing.
Nothing.
It is the
Nothing.
act, if you can call it that, itself, of the awareness itself being present.
The
that
awareness
gives you
being
everything that you're
present.
looking for.
It gives you everything you're looking for. That's so beautiful. That is exactly what is happening. You look at what is happening. The moment you're willing to look at it, you see, I cannot prove it unless you're willing to experience as I talk to you. Okay? The moment you look at it, you find there's nothing there except in my mind, which created it out of conditioned thinking. It has become a pattern, just like that's what the living question is. You see? The living question is simply a pattern that we have acquired and we have made real. But the moment you look at it, where is it? How many of you are understanding what I'm talking about?
Well, it's taking responsibility for what you're seeing.
Yeah, you're willing to experience it. As you experience it, how is it looking to you now? Can you find some words that can make it a little easier to understand what experiencing, the willingness to experience something is?
Well, it's seeing the truth in it.
To see the truth. How do you see the truth of something?
Well, to see.
Let's say for a moment there you felt guilty, you did something, felt guilt, or felt a fear. Oh my gosh. What if that is going to happen? Like, okay, how do you experience that? The willingness to experience that.
Well, I would see where that projection is coming from.
Okay, and how do you do that? Can we find better?
Well, I would like right there. I would know that's not. something that I need to look at, for one, like it's outside of me, it's happening to me. So I would see that.
You're projecting it outside of you.
Yeah.
Everything is inside you. Everything is in the mind, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see, that's a very good point. That's another way to willingness to experience. The moment we're willing to experience it, we put it out there. How will they think about me? How will they feel about me? How do they, when they look at me, do they see me as inferior? Something is wrong. I let down the team. Whatever. You put it out there. But it's all happening in here. There's nothing out there. So that's the first step. Thank you. That was very good. Okay. One way to be willing to experience is to see that everything is a projection. It has nothing to do with out there. It never happened out there. You just made it out there. You see, it's all in here. From conditioned way of thinking.
And without the willingness to see that, then it would be all their fault.
Yeah. Or your fault.
Or yeah, exactly.
Right. So, when you're not willing to experience an experience, which is 80 to 90% of the time, you always want to blame someone. And if you've got nobody to blame, then you blame yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's suffering. That's unawareness. That's pain.
Well, that's third dimension.
Yeah, that's third dimension. Yeah. Right. You see? But the moment you see in the fourth dimension, we enter beyond time and space. And we begin to see that what we call time is that we were living in time all the time. All the time. Past, future. And we miss the experience of the moment. See? If you watch a child play, you have a perfect picture of what it's like to experience the moment. But the child loses that because he's told all the time, don't do this, don't do that, be good, don't get dirty, be careful. So all the time he's being told so many times that his freedom, little by little, is being eaten away until there's no freedom anymore to be who he is. And we stop playing. But in the moment, the child is fully present. So therefore we're going to talk about the 3 stages. Okay. There are 3 stages that we all go through. And these 3 stages are very valid. They're very real. The first stage is that most people, 75% of the population or more, lives everyday life as if life is very real. You see? In other words, they live from the ego, from how they've been conditioned by their parents and the parents' parents, etc. And this is how we live life with their religion, tradition, belief system, etc. So this is the life everybody lives. And we really think that this is real. This is called the ego life or third dimensional life. Okay, now there comes a point in our life, whatever lifetime that would be, that you start to seek, start to yearn for something better. You want to be free. You see? So you start seeking. Now, that seeking you cannot help. Because a part in you says, but there's got to be something better than this. I'm doing a job in an office or an insurance company or advertising firm, and you begin to see the emptiness of it, the meaninglessness of it, because everything is meaningless. Let's face it, I'm not trying to make it something morbid, on the contrary, I'm making something very joyous. Everything that is happening in life doesn't have that much meaning unless there's love in it. Love is the only thing that gives meaning to anything. You see? And so part of us wants that love all the time. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to feel that impetus, that passion. You see? Because without that passion, you don't feel alive. Right? So this is what we are seeking. So we go through the seeking. But the seeking is filled with how I want things to happen, my expectations, my wants, my needs, all the time. So this is a very confusing stage. The second stage is the most confusing stage. So when people are saying they're spiritual seekers, what they're really saying is, I'm mixed up, I'm confused. That's what they're really saying, because everybody who is seeking spiritually is confused, whether they admit it or not. Okay? It can be helped. And then you reach the third stage. The third stage is the stage of so-called awakened, when you realize there's no such thing as you at all. Okay? You're given a name, you're given a form in the sense that it seems to be functioning, but in truth, you are just here. You're always here. As you sit listening, do you see yourself just there? You're just here? You don't see yourself sitting there, you don't see your body, you don't see anything. And if your body isn't held, because there's no emotion going through it, right now, all you are is sitting here experiencing someone talking. And you're listening, which of course makes you one, because it takes someone to talk and for another to listen. Okay, that's what completes a truth of experience of the moment. Okay, that is the only truth that there is. Other than that, it's just more labels and definitions and conjecture and ideas. But other than that, there's only here, there's only now, called being. You see, you're a human being. And the human is always seeking the being, always. There's never a time when the human is not seeking the being. And it seeks it in many different ways. But most of the seeking is done through love, wanting love, needing love. Because without love, we know it in our heart, things have no meaning without feeling that love alive in you. You see? But when we discover what is love, the willingness to experience. You see? That's what love is. The font is small. Let's cover number 2 here. Could you read that, please?
Hello, Burt. I had some experiences of not being this body and mind. It was joyous, blissful. Yet after I felt full of tension, fear, pain in the body. I have been in almost 24-hour anxiety, tension in the body, tense breathing, fear to do certain things. Yet I am doing many things differently. I am now in a new intimate relationship and many things are changing. I could go on a weekend understanding and releasing anger workshop. Not sure if it's a good idea to go to or if I can deal with anger, fear, pain in the way you talk of. I have been working this way for a while. I have been depressed and anxious for so many years. How can I totally experience this fear and pain? Please help me. I feel that I am on a knife's edge. Thank you. Love to you.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a nice edge there. Now, can we talk about that, please? Okay? Where is the willingness to experience and what is happening? Now, she had a moment of experiencing, right?
So, it appears that there's an attachment to that moment.
Very good. And the attachment is done by other than the moment.
Yes.
That's how we lose it every time. Good.
So
excellent.
Separation is where the pain and depression and all that is.
Right.
Not in the experience of what's happening in the moment, but the experience lost. It keeps them out of the experience of what's now.
Exactly. And the more they wish to change, the more they want to return back to that moment when there was just pure experience. You see? It's not happening because there isn't the willingness to experience what is happening now. You don't lose anything. You never lose anything. There's nothing to lose. Only the mind makes you think you're losing something. That's what fear is. Fear is a sense of loss. You're going to lose something. But there is the attachment.
And then the mind colors the experience of the moment by being out of it with grays, darks, and all of that.
That's right. All different colors, isn't it? Yeah. Now, how can we be... Let's assume that there's willingness to experience. How would she go about it?
Just be present. Just like focus on the now. Just focus now, and then there's no story now.
Very good. That's beautiful to say. In the moment there is no story. There's experience, but there's no story. Story always comes when you make it into something that happened. The happening cannot be a story. Excellent, go on.
I don't know as much else to say. It's just the experience, and then if you're really focused and if you really want to forget about that moment or whatever, just like get rid of the anger, just really focus in the now. Put all your attention here and now, and then you'll see the thought come up and it won't be you. So you just see it as a story if you really focus right now. It's that simple.
That's that simple. Have you done it yourself?
Yeah, doing it right now.
Hey! Willingness to experience. Right there. You see how joyous he is? The moment there is the experience to experience something, you become joyous. You become inspired. You become enthusiastic. You become alive. And that's all we ever want. We want to feel alive. You know, so many people talk about health. They think it has to do with the body. No, it has to do with your mind. If you're alive in your mind, your body is alive. You see? The willingness to experience. That's beautiful, thank you. Yeah. Let's hear from you too.
Well, what happens when you keep slipping back into the problem-solving mode where you're trying to fix something?
That's it, you stop, and that's what is real at the moment. You trying to fix a problem is the experience of the moment. Are you willing to look at that? You see, everything that seems to be happening that is a problem or is a fear, we have made it because of that conceptual idea that there's something wrong, because your expectations or the way you want things to be is not happening. But all experience, moment to moment, is teaching you moment to moment how to be. If we allow it and be willing to look at it. Every moment is God. Every moment is alive. Every moment is heaven.
Maybe there's nothing to fix in the moment.
Nothing to fix in the moment.
That fixing,
Mamma mia.
That fixing
Yes.
will take care of itself.
Yes. And you look at it at that moment. You're willing to experience it as it is. And the moment you do that, really look at it, you begin to feel free already. And what's even better is that the solution will come to you too. Everything will start coming to you. And you find that there was no real solution. There was never a problem in the first place. So automatically your body will act according to what it needs to do. You don't even know you're acting because you always thought that you did all the acting. You were the doer. I'm doing everything. Even now, listen to my hands. I'm not doing it, it's just being done. Right? So the moment you experience the moment as it is, you'll find that everything is being done through you. And by that willingness, because that's the only choice you've got, by that willingness to look at it, all of a sudden you give the power to the real you, which is the essence. Okay, you like the word essence, and I agree with you. It's beautiful. Okay, to the source of you, and then it starts acting through you. And this is how we become creative in our everyday life. So that's the third level of awakening, the third stage is when we realize there's nothing to actually realize. There's nothing to learn, there's nothing to understand, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing even to hope for, because the moment is eternal. It is the joy of heaven. It is all that there is and has ever been. And there's no greater than this moment. Everything that is now, it is because, if you don't like it, it is because you're living from your mind, how it should be. But if you're willing to experience the moment as it is, it will start to shift automatically without you doing anything about it. You see? The shift happening as you allow yourself the willingness to see it for what it is, the way it is. Actually is. How something really is has nothing to do with the way we thought it was. And I'm glad you're laughing, because that laughter indicates to me you're becoming very clear of how it really it is, isn't it? Did you know that every time we see something as real and simple, we laugh? We are in enjoyment. That's what enjoyment is. That's what heaven is. That's what love is. That's what God is.
Bliss. What bliss is.
What bliss is that innocence of the moment. My God, I suffered so much, and so many things were happening, and what's wrong with me? And then you look at it, willingness to look at the experience of your mind and find there's nothing there but bullshit.
That you created.
That you created. Yes. Yes. And your life, how it is now, or how you think it is now, is all created by you.